Jake Miller wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag and looked at the clock on the wall. It was past 9 in the evening, and the rain had been coming down hard for the last 2 hours. The small auto repair shop felt warm and safe compared to the storm outside. Thunder rolled across the sky, and lightning lit up the windows every few seconds. He had been working on Mrs. Johnson's old sedan since morning. The engine made strange noises and took forever to start. Jake knew he could fix it, but it would take time. He was good with cars and trucks. People in town trusted him to make their vehicles run better. The work kept him busy and paid the bills. Jake turned off the radio and started cleaning up his tools. The shop was quiet, except for the sound of rain hitting the roof. He liked working late when no one was around. It gave him time to think and focus on the job. Sometimes the best solutions came to him when he was alone with a broken engine. As he put away his wrench set, he heard something outside. It sounded different from the storm. Maybe it was a cat or a dog looking for shelter. Jake had found animals behind his shop before during bad weather. He always gave them food and a warm place to stay until morning. He walked to the back door and opened it slightly. Rain blew into his face, and he had to squint to see anything. The parking lot behind his shop was empty, except for his own truck. The street light at the corner flickered and cast strange shadows on the wet ground. Then he saw her. A small figure was lying next to the dumpster about 20 feet away. At first, Jake thought it might be a pile of clothes or trash that had blown around in the wind. But then the figure moved slightly, and he realized it was a person. Someone was out there in the cold rain, and they looked like they were in trouble. Jake grabbed his jacket and ran outside. The rain soaked through his clothes in seconds, but he did not care. When he got closer, he could see it was a woman, or maybe a young girl. She was very small and thin. Her skin looked strange in the dim light. But Jake thought it might just be because she was cold and wet. She was wearing some kind of silver suit that looked torn in several places. The material was unlike anything Jake had seen before. It seemed to shimmer even in the rain. Parts of it were burned or melted. Whatever had happened to her, it had not been good. Jake knelt down beside her. She was shivering badly, and her lips looked blue. Her eyes were closed, and she was barely breathing. He could tell she was alive, but not by much. If he left her out here in this weather, she would probably die before morning. "Hey," Jake said softly. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes opened. Slowly, they were much larger than normal human eyes and completely black. Jake felt his heart jump, but he did not pull away. She looked at him with fear and confusion. She tried to speak, but only made weak sounds that he could not understand. Jake realized this woman was not from around here. She was not from anywhere on Earth. The strange suit, the unusual eyes, the way she looked at him like she had never seen a human before. All of it told him that something incredible and impossible was happening in his parking lot. But right now, none of that mattered. She was cold and hurt and needed help. Jake did not care if she was from another planet or another dimension. He would figure out the details later. First, he had to get her warm and safe. "It's okay," he said in the calmest voice he could manage. "I'm going to help you." Jake carefully picked her up. She weighed almost nothing and felt as cold as ice. Her head fell against his shoulder, and he could feel how much she was shivering. He carried her into the shop and kicked the door closed behind him. The warm air inside seemed to help a little. Jake set her down gently on the old couch he kept in the corner for customers who had to wait. She curled up into a ball and continued shivering. Her strange silver suit was dripping water onto the floor. Jake went to his office and found his favorite hoodie hanging on a chair. It was thick and warm and would be much too big for her, but that did not matter. He also grabbed a clean towel and the blanket he sometimes used when he worked late and needed a nap. When he came back, she was trying to sit up. Her large dark eyes followed his movements, but she still looked scared. Jake moved slowly so he would not frighten her more than she already was. "Here," he said, holding up the hoodie. "This will keep you warm." She looked at the clothes and then at Jake. She seemed to understand what he was offering even though she did not speak. She reached out with one small hand and touched the soft fabric. Then she looked back at Jake and made a sound that might have been "thank you." In whatever language she spoke, Jake helped her out of the damaged silver suit and into his hoodie. It came down past her knees, and the sleeves hung over her hands. But it was dry and warm, and that was what mattered. He wrapped the blanket around her shoulders and went to make coffee. While the coffee was brewing, Jake tried to think about what he should do next. Part of him knew he should call someone. The police or the military, or maybe the government. This was probably the kind of thing that important people needed to know about. But another part of him just saw someone who needed help and wanted to give it. He brought her a cup of hot coffee and sat down in a chair across from the couch. She held the mug in both hands and breathed in the steam. The shivering was getting better and some color was coming back to her strange pale skin. "My name is Jake," he said, pointing to himself. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she pointed to herself and said something that sounded like Zara. Jake smiled. "Nice to meet you, Zara." For the first time since he found her, she smiled. Back, it was a small smile, but it changed her whole face. Jake realized that whatever else was happening here, he had just made a friend from another world. Jake woke up on his couch the next morning with a stiff neck and the smell of something amazing coming from his kitchen. For a moment, he forgot about the night before. Then he remembered Zara and sat up quickly. His hoodie and blanket were folded neatly on the coffee table, but she was nowhere to be seen. He followed the smell to the kitchen and found Zara standing at his stove. She had found some eggs and vegetables in his refrigerator and was making something that looked like scrambled eggs but smelled 10 times better. She was still wearing his hoodie, which hung loose on her small frame. "Good morning," Jake said. Zara turned and smiled at him. Her English was still limited, but she had been practicing. "Good morning, Jake. I make food. Thank you for help." Jake was amazed at how much better she looked. Her pale blue skin had a healthy glow, and her large dark eyes were bright and alert. The fear from last night was mostly gone. She moved around his kitchen like she belonged there. "You didn't have to cook," Jake said. "You should be resting." "You help me. I help you," Zara replied simply. She handed him a plate of the eggs. They tasted incredible, like nothing he had ever eaten before. Somehow she had turned his basic ingredients into something that belonged in the best restaurant in the world. They were eating breakfast when someone knocked on the front door. Jake looked through the window and his heart sank. It was Lisa, his ex-girlfriend. She was holding a bag from the bakery downtown and had that look on her face that meant she wanted to talk about the relationship again. "Stay here," Jake told Zara. "I'll handle this." But when Jake opened the door, Lisa pushed past him into the apartment. She was already talking before she got through the doorway. "Jake, I brought your favorite muffins, and I think we need to talk about what happened between us. I know I said some things I didn't mean, and maybe you did too, but I think we can work this out if we just—" Lisa stopped talking when she saw Zara sitting at Jake's kitchen table. She was still wearing his hoodie and eating breakfast like she lived there. Lisa's eyes went wide and then narrow. "Who is that?" Lisa asked in a voice that could cut glass. "This is Zara," Jake said carefully. "She needed help last night." Lisa looked Zara up and down. She noticed how small and pretty Zara was. She noticed that Zara was wearing Jake's favorite hoodie, the Same one Lisa had always tried to steal when they were dating. She noticed how comfortable Zara looked in Jake's apartment. I see, Lisa said in the fake sweet voice she used when she was really angry. And she just happened to need help right here at your place. How convenient. Zara had been watching this exchange with interest. She could not understand all the words, but she could read the emotions clearly. This woman was angry and jealous, and was trying to hurt Jake with her words. Zara had seen behavior like this before among her own people. Some individuals tried to control others through manipulation and drama. Lisa, it's not what you think, Jake started to say. Oh, really? Lisa interrupted. Then why is she wearing your clothes? Why is she making herself at home in your kitchen? How long has this been going on, Jake? Were you seeing her while we were still together? Jake felt his patience running out. This was exactly the kind of thing that had made him break up with Lisa in the first place. She always assumed the worst about him and created drama where none existed. Lisa, we broke up 6 months ago. What I do now is not your business. 6 months ago, you said you needed space to figure things out. You said you weren't ready for a serious relationship. But apparently you were ready, just not with me. While Lisa continued her speech, something interesting happened. Zara stood up from the table and walked over to stand next to Jake. She did not say anything to Lisa. She did not even look at Lisa. She simply acted like Lisa was not there. When Lisa tried to make eye contact with Zara, Zara looked right through her. When Lisa asked her a direct question, Zara responded only to Jake, as if his was the only voice in the room that she could hear. It was the most complete dismissal Lisa had ever experienced. Excuse me, I'm talking to you, Lisa said to Zara. Raising her voice, Zara turned to Jake and said, Jake, you want more food? I make more. Lisa's face turned red. Did she just ignore me? Jake, your little friend here is being very rude. Jake was starting to understand what Zara was doing. She had sized up Lisa quickly and decided that the best way to deal with her was to treat her like she did not exist. It was brilliant in its simplicity. Maybe she doesn't speak much English, Jake said, though he knew that was not the real reason. She spoke English just fine a minute ago, Lisa snapped. She's doing this on purpose. Zara began clearing the breakfast dishes. She moved around Lisa like she was a piece of furniture. When Lisa stepped directly in front of her, Zara simply changed direction without acknowledging that anyone was blocking her path. Lisa was getting more frustrated by the minute. She was used to being the center of attention, especially when she was angry. Having someone completely ignore her existence was driving her crazy. Jake, we need to talk privately, Lisa said. We are talking privately, Jake replied. Zara doesn't understand most of what we're saying. This was not entirely true. Zara's English was getting better by the hour, and she was picking up more than Jake realized. But she continued to act like she could not hear Lisa at all. This is ridiculous, Lisa said. Jake, choose. It's her or me. If you want any chance of us getting back together, she needs to go. Now. Jake looked at Lisa and then at Zara. Was washing dishes at his sink, humming softly to herself. She seemed completely at peace despite the drama happening around her. Lisa stood there with her hands on her hips, waiting for him to send Zara away. The choice was easier than Jake expected. Lisa, Zara is staying. She needs help, and I'm going to help her. If that's a problem for you, then I guess we don't have anything else to talk about. Fine, Lisa said. But don't come crying to me when you figure out what kind of person she really is. There's something wrong with her, Jake. Something not normal. If only she knew, Jake thought. After Lisa left, slamming the door behind her, Jake sat down at his kitchen table. Zara brought him another cup of coffee and sat across from him. Bad woman, Zara said simply. Yeah, Jake agreed. She is. You better without her. Jake looked at Zara, and realized she was right. For the first time in months, he felt completely at peace in his own home. Lisa always brought chaos and drama wherever she went. Zara brought calm and kindness. "Thank you," Jake said. "For what?" "For seeing right through her. For not letting her upset you. For being here," Zara smiled. "You help me when I need. I help you when you need. This is how good people do." Jake smiled back. Maybe having an alien friend was going to be more interesting than he thought. 3 days after Zara arrived, Jake noticed the black cars driving slowly through town. They had government plates and tinted windows. The kind of cars that meant serious people were looking for something important. Jake had a bad feeling he knew what they were looking for. Zara had been teaching him words in her language while he helped her understand more English. She told him her people were called the Kethani, and they came from a world with 3 suns and no cold weather. That explained why Earth's climate was so hard for her. She also explained that her small ship had crashed in the forest about 10 miles north of town. "We need to find your ship," Jake told her over breakfast, "before someone else does." Zara nodded. She had been worried about the same thing. Ship has important things. Technology that humans not ready for. Jake understood. If the government found alien technology, they would probably spend years studying it and asking questions about where it came from. Questions that would eventually lead them to Zara. They were getting ready to drive into the forest when Lisa showed up again. This time she looked different. Her hair was perfect, and she was wearing her best dress. She also looked determined in a way that made Jake nervous. "Jake, we need to talk," Lisa announced as she walked into his apartment without being invited. "Not now, Lisa. I'm busy." "With her, I suppose," Lisa said, looking at Zara with obvious dislike. Zara was sitting at the kitchen table, completely ignoring Lisa's presence, just like she had been doing for 3 days. It was starting to drive Lisa crazy. She had tried everything to get Zara's attention, from speaking loudly to standing directly in front of her. Nothing worked. "I've been thinking about your little friend here," Lisa continued. "There's something very strange about her. She doesn't have any identification. She doesn't have a car or any belongings. She showed up out of nowhere during a storm. And she's living in your apartment like she owns the place." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Lisa was getting too close to the truth. "Maybe she's an illegal immigrant," Lisa said. "Maybe I should call the police and have them check her out." This got Zara's attention. She looked up from her breakfast and stared directly at Lisa for the first time since they had met. Her large dark eyes were completely calm, but somehow very threatening. Lisa took a step backward without realizing it. "You call police on Zara," Zara said in her careful English, "and you will be very sorry." It was the first time Zara had spoken directly to Lisa. Her voice was quiet, but there was something in it that made the hair on Jake's arms stand up. Lisa opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. Then Zara went back to ignoring Lisa completely, as if the moment had never happened. "Did she just threaten me?" Lisa asked Jake. "I don't think so," Jake said, though he was not entirely sure. "I'm calling the police," Lisa announced. "No, you're not," Jake said firmly. "Lisa, I want you to leave, now, and don't come back." "You're making a huge mistake, Jake. When you figure out what kind of trouble she really is, don't expect me to help you fix it." After Lisa left, Jake and Zara drove toward the forest in his pickup truck. Zara directed him down back roads and hunting trails that Jake had never seen before. The deeper they went into the woods, the more nervous he became. If her ship was really out here, they might not be the only ones looking for it. "How will we know when we're close?" Jake asked. "I will feel it," Zara said. "My people, we connect to our ships, like you connect to family." They drove for another hour before Zara told him to stop. They were in a clearing surrounded by tall pine trees. Jake could not see anything unusual, but Zara was pointing toward a thick group of trees, about 100 yards away. "There," she said. They walked through the forest until they found it. Zara's ship was small, about the size of a large car, but it was like nothing Jake had ever seen. The hull was made of the same silver material as her suit. It was curved and smooth with no visible seams or joints. It looked like it had been grown rather than built. The ship was buried nose first in the soft ground. Trees had fallen around it, and the earth was scorched in a wide circle. Whatever had brought it down had been violent. "Can you fix it?" Jake asked. Zara walked around the ship, touching different parts of the hull. "Maybe, but need tools and time." Jake was good with tools, and he was fascinated by the ship's design. As they worked together to clear away dirt and branches, Zara explained how different systems worked. Her technology was based on principles that human science had not discovered yet, but Jake's practical experience with engines and electronics helped him understand the basics. "Your people very clever with machines," Zara told him as he figured out how to open a damaged panel. "Most species we meet, they only know their own technology. You adapt very quick." "We have to," Jake said. "Humans break things a lot, so we get good at fixing them." They worked through the afternoon. Jake was amazed at how well they worked together, despite coming from completely different worlds. Zara was patient when he did not understand something, and Jake was careful not to damage anything important. As the sun was getting low, they heard vehicles coming through the forest. Jake looked through the trees and saw 3 black SUVs driving slowly along the trail they had used. Government agents were getting close. "We need to go," Jake said. "Not yet," Zara replied. She was working frantically on something inside the ship. "Almost ready. Zara, they're going to find us. I know. But if I not finish this, ship will explode when they try to study it. Explosion will be very big." Jake realized she was setting up some kind of self-destruct system to protect her. Technology. He also realized that if they were caught here when it went off, they would be caught in the explosion too. "How long do you need?" 2 minutes. Jake could hear car doors slamming and voices getting closer. He picked up a large rock and threw it as far as he could in the opposite direction. It crashed through the trees and made enough noise to get the agent's attention. "This way," someone shouted. Jake heard footsteps moving away from them. That bought them a little time, but not much. "Done," Zara said, backing away from the ship. They ran through the forest toward Jake's truck. Behind them, Jake could hear the agents finding the crash site. Someone was shouting orders, and more vehicles were arriving. Jake and Zara reached the truck just as a bright flash lit up the forest behind them. The explosion was not as big as Jake had feared, but it was loud enough to shake the ground. A column of smoke rose above the trees. As they drove away, Jake looked in his rearview mirror and saw the smoke getting smaller in the distance. Whatever technology had been in that ship was gone now, but he still had Zara, and that meant the agents would keep looking. "What do we do now?" Jake asked. "Now we wait," Zara said. "My people will come looking for me, but it will take time." "How much time?" "I not know. Maybe days. Maybe weeks." Jake nodded. He was committed now. Whatever happened next, he and Zara would face it together. He just hoped they could stay ahead of the people who were hunting them. As they drove back toward town, Jake realized his quiet life was over. But looking at Zara sitting beside him in his favorite hoodie, he found that he did not mind as much as he thought he would. The next morning, Jake woke up to find Zara sitting by his window, staring up at the sky. She had been doing this every morning since her ship was destroyed. She was watching for signs that her people were coming to find her. "Anything today?" Jake asked. Zara shook her head. "Nothing yet." But they will come. Jake made coffee and sat down beside her. Over the past week, he had learned a lot about Zara's world and her people. The Kethani were explorers who traveled between the stars looking for other intelligent species. They had been watching Earth for many years, trying to decide if humans were ready for contact. "What did your people think about us?" Jake asked. "Before you crashed here, I mean." Zara was quiet for a moment. "We not sure about humans. You very different from other species we meet." "Different how?" "Most species, they either very logical or very emotional. Very peaceful or very aggressive. Very selfish or very giving. Humans are all these things at same time." "This made you hard to understand." Jake laughed. "We don't understand ourselves. Most of the time." "Yes, but this is what makes you special," Zara said seriously. "You can be logical when you need to think. You can be emotional when you need to feel. You can fight when you must protect something. You can be kind when someone needs help." She looked directly at Jake. "When you find me, you not think about danger to yourself. You not think about reward for helping. You just see someone who need help, and you help. This is very rare in Galaxy. It's not that rare. Most people would have done the same thing." "No, Jake. Most species would run away or try to capture me for study. Your people do both things too, but some of you choose different path. You choose to help stranger because it is right thing to do." Jake was not sure he deserved that much credit, but he was starting to understand why Zara's people were interested in humans. They seemed to value the same things he did: helping others, being honest, standing up for what was right. That afternoon, they got an unexpected visitor. Agent Collins knocked on Jake's door while they were having lunch. He was a tall man in a dark suit who looked like he had not slept in days. "Mr. Miller, I'm Agent Collins with the Department of Homeland Security. I'd like to ask you a few questions about unusual activity in this area." Jake's heart started beating faster, but he tried to stay calm. "What kind of unusual activity?" "Strange. Electromagnetic readings. Reports of lights in the sky. An explosion in the forest yesterday that left some very interesting debris." Agent Collins stepped into the apartment without being invited. His eyes moved around the room, taking in every detail. When he saw Zara sitting at the kitchen table, he paused. "And who might this be?" "This is my friend Zara," Jake said. "She's visiting from out of town." Zara looked up at Agent Collins and smiled politely. She had been practicing acting more human over the past few days. "Hello," she said with just a slight accent. "Where are you from, Miss Zara?" "Canada," Zara replied smoothly. Agent Collins studied her for a moment. "You don't have any identification with you?" "I lost my purse," Zara said. "Very careless of me." Jake was impressed by how well Zara was handling the questions. She had learned to read human behavior very quickly and was giving Agent Collins exactly what he expected to hear. "Mr. Miller, have you noticed anything unusual in the past week? Strange sounds, unusual lights, anything out of the ordinary?" "Just the storm," Jake said. "It was pretty bad, but nothing I haven't seen before." Agent Collins nodded, but his eyes said he did not believe everything he was hearing. "Well, if you do see anything unusual, please give me a call." He handed Jake a business card, day or night. After Agent Collins left, Jake and Zara sat in silence for several minutes. "He knows something," Jake said finally. "Yes, but he not sure what. We have little time before he come back with more questions." That evening, Zara told Jake more about her mission on Earth. She had been sent to observe humans and report back to her government about whether Earth was ready for first contact. Her ship had been damaged by an unexpected solar storm, and she had barely made it to the planet's surface. "What would you have reported?" Jake asked. "Before you crashed, I mean." "I would have said humans not ready. Too much fighting." "Too much," fear of things that are different, too much selfishness. And now, Zara smiled, now I know that some humans are ready. Maybe not all, but some. And sometimes some is enough to make big change. She explained that throughout the galaxy, most species made first contact through their governments and military leaders. It was always formal and careful, and often ended badly because leaders were worried about power and control. But you different. Jake, you meet alien not as representative of your government or your species. You meet me as Jake, who fixes cars and helps people who need help, this much better way. Jake was starting to understand that his simple decision to help a stranger might have consequences far beyond what he had imagined. But he was also realizing that he was okay with that. What happens when your people come? He asked. They will want to meet you. They will want to understand how one human can change everything about first contact. And what will you tell them? I will tell them that humans have something very special. You have ability to see person, not just species. You judge by actions, not by appearance. You risk yourself for others, even when you get nothing in return. That night, Jake lay awake, thinking about everything Zara had told him. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, just a guy who fixed cars in a small town and tried to be decent to people. But through Zara's eyes, he was starting to see that ordinary human decency might be extraordinary in the universe. The next morning, Lisa showed up at Jake's door again. This time, she brought 2 police officers with her. That's her, Lisa said, pointing at Zara. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with her. She doesn't have any ID. She's probably here illegally. Officer Martinez looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, we can't arrest someone just for not having identification. But she's been living here for over a week. She's obviously not from around here. And Jake is protecting her for some reason. Zara stood up slowly from the kitchen table. She walked over to the police officers and spoke in perfect English with no accent at all. Officers, I understand this woman is concerned about my presence. Here, I am visiting Mr. Miller, and I have committed no crimes. If you need to verify my identity, I am happy to cooperate. Officer Martinez looked surprised. Zara sounded completely different from how she had talked to Agent Collins the day before. She sounded educated and confident and completely honest. Do you have any identification with you? Not at the moment, but I can provide it if necessary. Lisa's face was getting red. See? She's lying. Yesterday, she could barely speak English, and now listen to her. Ma'am, people can speak differently when they're nervous or tired, Officer Martinez said patiently. And there's no law against improving your English quickly. After the police left, taking a frustrated Lisa with them, Jake looked at Zara with new respect. That was amazing, he said. Lisa is a problem that will only get worse, Zara replied. She sees threat where none exists. She creates conflict where there could be peace. This is why my people worry about humans. Too many like her. But there are also people like you, Jake pointed out. Zara smiled. Yes, and people like you. This gives me hope. Jake realized that Zara was right about Lisa, but she was also right about humans in general. They were capable of both great kindness and great cruelty, often at the same time. The question was which side would win when it really mattered. 2 weeks after Zara destroyed her ship, Jake woke up to find her standing outside on his small balcony. She was looking up at the early morning sky with an expression he had never seen before. When he joined her, she pointed to a spot just above the horizon where a new star seemed to be shining. They are here, Zara said quietly. Jake squinted at the light. It was too bright to be a normal star, and it seemed to be moving very slowly across the sky. Your people? Yes, they found the signal from my ship before it exploded. They have been traveling for many days to reach Earth. Jake felt his stomach drop. He had known this moment would come, but he was not ready for it. Over the past 2 weeks, Zara had become more than just an alien he was helping. She had become his closest friend. The thought of her leaving made him feel empty. "So you'll go with them," Jake said. Zara looked at him with those large dark eyes that had become so familiar. "That depends on you." "On me? My people will want to meet the human who saved me. They will want to understand what makes you different from other humans they have observed. But I will not let them take you if you do not want to go." Jake stared at her. "You're asking me to go with you? Into space? I am asking if you want to be part of something bigger than this small town. Something that could change both our species forever." Before Jake could answer, his phone rang. It was Agent Collins. "Mr. Miller, I need you and your friend to come with me right now. We have a situation that requires your immediate cooperation." "What kind of situation?" "The kind where everyone's safety depends on you doing exactly what I tell you." Jake looked at Zara. She had heard the conversation and was already moving toward the door. "We go," she said simply, "but together." They met Agent Collins in the parking lot behind Jake's shop. He was not alone. There were at least 20 other agents and several vehicles with equipment Jake did not recognize. Everyone looked tense and ready for trouble. "Mr. Miller, we know about your friend," Agent Collins said without any greeting. "We know she's not from Canada or anywhere else on Earth. We've been tracking electromagnetic signatures that match the debris from the explosion in the forest." Jake started to say something, but Agent Collins held up his hand. "I'm not here to arrest anyone. I'm here because we have a much bigger problem. That new star in the sky? It's not a star. It's a ship, a very large ship. And we think it's here for her." Agent Collins pointed at Zara. "We need to know if they're friendly or if we should be preparing for the worst." Zara stepped forward. "They are my people. They came to find me. They will not hurt anyone unless they are threatened." "And how do we know that?" "Because I will tell them that humans can be trusted. Some humans, like Jake." Agent Collins looked back and forth between Jake and Zara. "You're telling me that first. Contact between Earth and an alien species is going to depend on a mechanic from a small town?" "Yes," Zara said without hesitation. Jake felt the weight of everyone's eyes on him. A few weeks ago, his biggest worry had been whether Mrs. Johnson's car would pass inspection. Now he was apparently responsible for the future of human-alien relations. "What do you need me to do?" Jake asked. Before Agent Collins could answer, the sky above them began to glow. The star that had been barely visible was getting brighter and larger. Within minutes, it was clear that something enormous was descending toward Earth. The Cathany ship was beautiful in a way that took Jake's breath away. It was shaped like a flower made of silver light, with curved petals that seemed to move and shift as it came closer. It was at least a mile across and completely silent. Jake's phone buzzed with a text message from Lisa. "Turn on the news right now." Every news channel was showing the same thing. The alien ship was visible from hundreds of miles away. Emergency broadcasts were telling people to stay indoors. Military jets were scrambling. The world was watching. The ship stopped about 1,000 feet above the town and hovered there like a second sun. Beams of light came down from it and touched the ground in several places. Where the beams touched, small platforms appear,